I am very perplexed by emotions. Emotions are kind of hard to process because they are not thoughts. Emotions are not things that we can define with our language. Emotions are not a human creation. Emotions are the purest form of communication. Emotions are from spirit. Our emotions cannot lie. They never lie because it is spirit feeling through us. Thoughts are typically in our native language. Well, I guess one could argue that you don't think in words, but I think the language that you are accustomed to has a lot to do with how you process certain associations with words and their meanings, and the language that you know does affect the way you think. But emotions are not subject to your language. Emotions are a universal, untouched by man language. You cannot control your emotions. I think you control your thoughts because your thoughts are more subject to manipulation. But emotions are not controllable. We control the way we think about our emotions, but we don't control the emotions that are coming through. Emotions are sensations. They only exist in the body because we are finite beings in this form. So these sensations that this energy is radiating out is felt through the body because it is contained in this physical form. So that's why when we feel excitement or anxiety or nervousness, we may feel like a flash of heat in our body. We may feel our shoulders tense up, our breath shallowing, our heart racing. These are physical sensations that our body is communicating to us because we are in this form. We are in these feeling bodies. We were granted our senses to experience a physical world. And so, in order for us to perceive of our emotions, we must experience a physical symptom. Just like in order for us to perceive the thoughts and ideas of others, we have these ears to listen to the words they say. We have these eyes to observe the body language they portray. We have our senses because that is how we are able to experience the world in this form. And emotions is a feeling sensation. But I have just been a little perplexed about what to do with negative emotions. Because I feel like when you start to go down this path, when you start to gain an awareness of thoughts being vibrations and emotion being energy in motion, it is a physical energy that is actually in motion. It is not just an abstract idea. Emotions are physical sensations. They are energy radiating. That's why you kind of have this sixth sense of feeling the emotions of others. Not just by observing them with your eyes or hearing them with your ears. You actually feel an emotional energy radiating from someone. So I think that when you start going down this path and you start learning about how that energy works and how our thoughts and emotions really are creating the reality that we experience, when you start learning about the law of attraction and that whole thing, what we are feeling is like a magnetic force that attracts everything else of that vibration to us. So once you start learning about that, you start to really pay attention more to what you're thinking and feeling and how that is playing out in your external world. I think people who are exposed to this information initially have a tendency to suppress all negative emotions and all negative thoughts because that is going to attract more of it to you. This is the huge movement towards optimism and positive thinking and just being in a high vibrational state all the time. You think that's what it takes to be the most in control of your reality as you can, to be the most conscious creator that you can. You must suppress all negative emotions and all negative thoughts in order to not attract any of that to you. It seems like a logical thing to do. It seems like it makes sense. The key to manifesting a happy, fulfilling, beautiful, desirable life is to just not feel negative emotions and think negative thoughts. Just get all of that out of your life. Get all of that out of your heart and your mind. And so I think people who go down this path have a tendency to, once they learn that information, they kind of feel like they've transcended emotions. You kind of get this feeling like you're above it all, like you know what to do now, so you're not going to experience bad emotions anymore, bad thoughts, because you know what they do to you now. You just kind of feel like, and I may just be speaking from my personal experience, but you kind of just feel like you've made it past negative emotions now. You're done with it forever. Which is totally like not realistic to think. But you kind of get this high, like, yes, like I know what to do now. I'm not going to experience anything negative anymore. And over time, you kind of learn that's not the case. Because no matter how woke you become, you will always experience negative emotions. And like I've said before, emotions are just emotions. Positive and negative is the judgment that we cast on them. Those judgments are coming from the ego. This, our rational thinking mind, we are the ones casting those judgments on this sensation. You are always going to experience the whole spectrum of emotions. And so when those negative emotions start to come in, we think that we shouldn't be feeling that way because we know that's not good for us. We know we shouldn't be feeling bad now that we know this. And then you judge yourself for feeling those negative emotions, and you feel like there's something wrong with you. You feel like there's something wrong with feeling that. And that judgment that you cast on having that emotion, that judgment that you cast on yourself for still feeling these things that we can't really control, that judgment is resistance. And so our natural response when we're feeling that is to try to suppress those emotions because we don't want to attract more of it. That's when we start to reach for that cigarette, reach for that chocolate, those sweets, reach for that drink, reach for that source of entertainment that gets your mind off things. You want to boost your other senses by getting this hit of dopamine from something that distracts you from that negative emotion, to try to just boost you up and raise your vibration so you don't attract anything bad. Because that's what I would do. Not all of those things I just named, but there was always just something that when I was feeling bad, I would reach for to distract myself from that feeling. Because I felt like it was wrong to feel bad. I felt like I was supposed to be feeling good all of the time. Now that I know this stuff, now that I know I create my own reality and I attract the vibrations that I'm putting out, why would I be thinking negatively? Why would I be feeling anything negative? And I cast these judgments on feelings that I was having, and I've realized that that's just creating more resistance. Because if you're already feeling those things, then that force is already there. And by you trying to resist that feeling, you are obviously creating resistance. Trying to not think something, trying to not feel something and just do something else is just suppressing that emotion. And since emotions are energy in motion, they have to go somewhere, right? So if you're just suppressing all of it down, it doesn't just disappear. Because energy is always in motion. It wants to go. It wants to leave the body. And when we're shoving those emotions down and we don't truly allow ourselves to feel it, it's still going to be there. And so I've really learned that just distracting yourself from negative emotions, or the void, we can call this the void. Like people say, everyone's born with a God-sized hole in their heart. And there just a lot of times seems to be this insatiable desire we have to just feel good all of the time. It is just like this void that we have to keep filling up with things to keep ourselves happy. That's kind of the philosophy we've adopted as a collective, is that it's not right to feel bad. If you're depressed or anxious, you should go get prescribed some pills to make you feel better. You should go see a therapist. You should say your affirmations. You should do something to make yourself feel better. But like I said, you can't control your emotions. When something comes up that's not so desirable and it's not so pleasant, that energy needs to move out of the body. It needs to be felt in its fullest to leave the body. I think this philosophy that we've adopted, maybe not philosophy is the right word, but this general consensus, this generally accepted ideal in our society to just keep trying to feel good all the time and keep distracting ourselves from the negative emotions when they come up, that is slowly killing us. The emotions aren't ever leaving the body, so when they keep building up, that's when people get sick. That's when something bad happens to them. That's when they have a breakdown, because you have to have release. And the distractions that you turn to avoid your emotions are not releasing the emotions. But it confuses me, because I just wasn't feeling so good yesterday after sitting on this for a while and trying to consciously feel that sadness or whatever. I'm not going to limit it by defining it with a word, but whatever I was feeling yesterday, instead of distracting myself from it, I was trying to consciously feel through it. But I think it's just much easier said than done. You hear a lot of spiritual teachers or psychologists say that. They'll just say, sit with the emotion. Really let yourself feel it. Allow yourself to feel through the emotion. But what does that really mean? It's like I was just really resisting all of the distractions I wanted to turn to and really trying to sit and feel through the emotions, and it just seemed like it was getting worse. It was like, okay, perhaps I'm feeling sad. I'm really going to feel this sadness. And so of course I just get more sad because I'm just trying to feel through it. It just seems like I'm emphasizing the emotion for no reason. I think of it as a negative emotion because I don't want to experience. So by forcing myself to experience it, that kind of feels like resistance too. The more I think about it, because I have such a logical, rational thinking mind, I'm very mentally active, and so emotional intelligence doesn't quite come as naturally to me, I guess. It's something that my brain wants to rationalize and analyze, just like it's doing right now. It wants to analyze emotions and try to understand them, when the whole point, I guess I'm trying to say, is that we can't understand it. Why am I even making this video? But, it's just like a big paradox. It's like, you're supposed to feel through your emotions so you don't suppress them and keep them trapped in the body. But by feeling those emotions, it seems like you're calling more attention to it when it's not necessary. It seems like you're trying to attract whatever emotion you're feeling. What does really feeling through your emotions mean? How do you know that your emotions have left the body? It's very confusing. I know, a couple ways to cope with the emotions is to be an observer of them rather than identifying with them. Just observe what you're feeling and don't judge yourself for it. And so, yeah, you can do that. Again, easier said than done, but you can do that. But then what? It's like, okay, are you ready to move on? Have you felt through it? Should you just move on and do something else? Are you resisting that emotion if you're doing that? Are you resisting the emotion by trying to feel it more? The natural thing for us to do is distract ourselves. And when we're using our will to change something and do what's not natural to us, isn't that resistance? It's easy to say, but when I really think about it, it's like, I just don't understand. We're just not taught emotional intelligence. that is not a priority for us in society. It's just kind of this social stigma that we have that emotions are weak. And, if you're feeling sad or depressed, you still gotta go to work. You still gotta go to school. Life still goes on. And so you're kind of forced to suppress your emotions to keep doing life because you have responsibilities. And if you truly allowed yourself to feel every emotion, wouldn't that just kind of set you off course? Would you truly be disciplined that way? Would you truly get anything done if you were just fully feeling every emotion? I mean, for sure, we have desensitized ourselves from our emotions. We're so distracted all the time that we forget what emotions even feel like. And that's why I think a lot of people are depressed and a lot of people feel empty, is because we've desensitized ourselves so much to negative emotions that it's harder for us to feel positive emotions. It's hard for us to feel any emotions, feel anything, because we've desensitized ourselves to the bad emotions. The more you don't feel good and you start eating ice cream and going out and drinking alcohol and having sex and doing drugs and all this stuff to not feel that emptiness doesn't go away. You're just distracting yourself from it. And so you are desensitizing yourself to feeling it. That desensitizes yourself to every other feeling as well. That's why you feel empty. It's just like a constant cycle. You're making yourself feel more empty by distracting yourself from feeling empty. How do you escape that loop? You have to strip back the layers and start to pay attention to the sensations that you're getting in your body. These physical sensations that express themselves as emotions. Being as present and mindful as you can will help you pay more attention to what you're feeling and just feel it. Just know that you're feeling something. It's just that we're so distracted all the time we don't know that we're feeling things. And so what's happened with me over the past couple years is I've progressed on this journey and I've been really trying to be more conscious and aware and present with myself and more mindful. I've noticed that I've been crying a lot more than I ever have before. I used to not be an emotional person at all. I've noticed that I kind of detached from my emotions. When I don't want to feel something, I kind of just detach from it. It's taken me a couple years of raising my consciousness, being more present with myself, paying attention to what I'm feeling to start gaining this sensitivity back. Now I'm much more aware of things that I'm feeling and it affects me more. I'll just cry randomly all the time now. I just get these spontaneous emotional bursts more than I ever have before because I'm more sensitive now. I'm more sensitive to everything. And it feels a lot better than not feeling anything. And you realize that you do feel things all the time when you really start paying attention. No one is truly empty. I think what we're moving to as a collective, what we need to strive for, is just to place more of an emphasis on our emotions. Make emotional health a priority. Right now it's mental health. Right now we're moving into mental health. But emotional health, that is the root. The mental health is the root of the physical health, but the emotional health is the root of the mental health. So I think we need to move to a step deeper than the mental health into the importance of our emotional health, and then we would really be somewhere if we were taught and brought up to care about our emotions and not suppress them and just realize the importance of our emotions. Because our spirit, God, the universe, our higher self, communicates to us through our emotions. That is the spirit speaking through you. That is your intuition showing you what's right and wrong. Those sensations that we get, that we can train ourselves to be more sensitive to, that's what we need to really be paying attention to. We have become so logic-based, so mentally based, that we are losing touch with our emotions, that we are not listening to our spirit communicating through us. We should bless our emotions and be thankful for every single one of them, despite what they make us feel, because it is our spirit showing us how certain things are affecting us. Our emotions are guiding us every step of the way, and we need to learn how to regain that sensitivity to them. I feel like I'm kind of talking in circles here, but I guess I'm really just trying to understand, which I guess it's impossible to truly understand, but I'm in the pursuit of understanding the true nature of emotions and how to feel and what to do with them and how to be with them without judgments. Like I said, it's easy to talk about it, but actually doing it is so abstract. What do you actually do? I don't know. It's It's a weird thing, man. Emotions. I mean, just the word emotions. That's not emotions. Emotions is just a word that we've assigned to that. What are emotions? We limit what emotions are just by calling them emotions, just by giving them a definition, assigning them a meaning. And our meanings are subjective anyway because each person perceives the association between a sound and its meaning differently. Therefore, each person perceives words differently. No meanings, no words are truly objective. They are all being filtered through the perceptions of the ego of that individual. Emotions are the root of our communication, of our inner guidance. And once you've brought those feelings, those sensations into words, up into the mind, into the definitions that we give things, we have limited what emotions are. And so truly understanding the nature of emotions does not happen in the mind, it happens in the heart. We cannot understand emotions by talking about it, by writing about it, by thinking about it. We truly understand emotions by feeling it in its pure language. That is the universal language, and that is the language of spirit. So that is the most important thing in this life, is our emotions. I guess that's the point of this video. Man, life is weird, dude. Life is weird.